What is your I was into X before it was cool thing? Mail. 2004-ish, when it was invite only. My friend had a small amount of invites, and the counter for free storage space would keep going up. I forgot about that. I worked for a movie theater chain in 1996, and my boss got a VHS copy of Jesus vs Santa Claus at some industry event. We watched that video a dozen times and laughed our asses off. About 6 months later South Park debuted on Comedy Central and we were very excited to see it had been picked up. Oh man. Just made me realize I'm getting old. I know. I remember when it came out. I was a teenager. I was married. With children. And still am. We weren't allowed to have cola much growing up, but we drank a ton of seltzer water. I kept drinking it as an adult and people made fun of me for how weird it was, because it's not a thing people casually drank. They thought it was either a mixer, like they acted as if I was drinking straight margarita mix, or something from a Frau health store. Then fucking La Croix came along. Or whatever it was that made seltzer suddenly cool a few years ago. I mean, I'm glad it's even more common with more flavors and stuff, but I used to get teased so much for it. I'm originally from Europe, where sparkling water is common and the norm. Kept drinking it after I moved to the US. Tried to introduce friends to it in junior high school and they all thought it was weird and tasted funny. Now it's everywhere and I'm so happy. I don't have to go to little European specialty shops or settle for club soda anymore. Same exact thing happened with Nutella. In Europe, kids aren't raised on PB&J, but on Nutella. New Americans who refuse to even try it. Now it's huge / / I'm Canadian and was raised on Nutella. Nutella and rye was my go to breakfast with a tall glass of milk. M&M. Nutella and rye bread are perfect together. Really balance each other. Skateboards. 1964 or so. Damn, that's before the Lords of Dogtown. My husband is 62 and still skating bowls. A picture of him holding a board is in Wes Humpston's book. Please let your husband know he is fucking rad. I bet he already fucking knows that. Lol honey, come quick, somebody on the internet says you're rad. Grumbles, you don't think I already know that, Sheila? Spotify. I remember I had to use a VPN to use it in my country. OMG, I forgot about this one. I distinctly remember telling people about it when I was in 6th grade, 2011, and my teacher telling me something like there's no way that's legal / legit. I've been a continuously paying user since 2008. I remember back when it was free and there wasn't a whole lot there. Then they started charging and I was like, yo, WTF, how can you do this to me? Crazy how big it grew. I remember this. It was only free and had adverts. Snowboarding. You couldn't even bring them to resorts. 1983. This is before it was too hot. Cries in nearby places no longer getting enough snow. In New England. 4 days last season. 4. Sent and back quote electronic mail message from my car using a HP 48G calculator and a ham radio in 1993. That feat got published in a technical magazine. Nothing about that first sentence sounds cool. But I know the G is for gangster. Edit. Thanks for all the love, upvotes, and awards. To answer the common questions, I wrote a terminal emulator for the 48 grams that talked to a terminal node controller, which is like a modem to interface between the calculator and radio. The message, don't remember the exact details, but I was 16 so it probably went to my mom's Prodigy account to say hi mom. Went through the ham radio packet network until it hit a node with an internet bridge. The car was my Pose 88 Mustang that I bought for $1,800. Lastly, the source for G is for gangster as it relates to HP 48G comes from the incredible Nerd Rap Entertainment System album by Ed Crooker. I don't know what those things are or how they work, but you are a damn trailblazer. Respect. I think you should be able to work out what a car is. Bitcoin. Altcoins didn't exist when I got started with it. Mandatory disclaimer, no, I'm not a millionaire now. I kick myself over Bitcoin all the time. I had a few hundred Bitcoins when they were hardly worth anything. I bought a pizza and some PC parts and stopped mining. Home computing. I started in 1976. Before RGB there was only green. I had an ASR Model 33 teletype and an inexhaustible source for rolls of paper and punch tape. Ink ribbons were a problem, but I had an endless supply of ink cartridges for some IBM printer that I could break open and spool onto the bobbins. I also, through a weird series of coincidences, had online access to a few services like Telex/TWX and a couple of remote computer systems where I could interact and/or execute programs. So I was already very immersed in a computing and networked communication scene long before home computers were a thing. I'm very grateful that the journey made it possible for me to get the kits and the parts and the know-how to build my first S100 bus machine. Oddly enough, it's because I was into amateur radio that any of this stuff crossed my path in the first place. Good times. Did you turn that interest into a career or just keep it as a hobby? That's Bill Gates you just replied to. I used to record myself playing video games when I was like 5 or 6. When my parents gave me the VCR they replaced in the living room. Because of this early hobby, me and a friend did video game playthroughs on YouTube in 2007. We were certainly not the first, but we were damn early. We also used a cap card straight out of the gate, rather than doing the old recording the screen crap that looked terrible. I used to want to record playing the Atari 2600 in the early 1980s. But I didn't have enough cables, and trying to get anyone with spending power interested in my idea was a no-go. Now I'm in my 40s, and have a cable obsession. Listening to Nirvana's Blue Song on student radio, NZ, in 1989, and thinking these guys are good. My favorite Nirvana song. The How to Train Your Dragon books. Unfortunately they are still not cool yet. There's books. 12 of them. Be prepared. They are very different. They're also very good. I enjoy the books more are like the only things that are the same as the names. Time/place. And that there are dragons. Time isn't even the same. The movies are about Hiccup and the books are Hiccup the 3 or 4th. I had a friend in high school ask me in math class one day if I wanted to go to a concert with her that night. Her sister had extra tickets, and she thought I'd want to go. It was a New Kids on the Block comeback tour, and I said sure why not. My mom didn't mind me going. We sat around chatting before the show and the opening act was some woman who appeared to be drunk, but her music was really good. Nobody had ever heard of her, and she only did a few songs, but her music was a total earworm that was hard to get rid of once it took hold. Went home that night and googled her single Just Dance and downloaded it immediately, and that's how I discovered Lady Gaga. I discovered her in a music blog, liked her songs, and followed her on Twitter. She followed me back for no reason. She still follows me. That's what happened with Elohim for me. I found her with Spotify, tweeted at her, and she followed me. That was nice. I know she's not a big artist, but I'm a huge fan of her. I saw Dave Giles in concert and followed him on Facebook. He follows me back and wishes me a happy birthday now. I think it's absolutely adorable. If you haven't heard of him, I would recommend checking him out if you have time. I came across the Lonely Islands website when I was about 11 or 12, /0 before Andy Samberg or the other two, Akiva and Jorma, were big. They had a video where they spliced all these old Northeast games together into a skit, and it was friggin' hilarious. I never realized that video was them. I love that video. Thank you. Not me, but my parents used to use Amazon as an online bookstore before it became much more than that. Yup, my dad's Amazon account says member since 1999. I remember when you could read every comic featuring Deadpool in under 2 hours. This was around the time I said an Iron Man movie, and they got some wash up to play him. This'll go over worse than Daredevil. I was pumped for the Iron Man movie because I had loved the 90s cartoon series that no one remembers. I loved that cartoon. I had a bunch on VHS. It's on Disney Plus along with all the other one-season 90s cartoons. I'm afraid to watch them because I'm worried they won't live up to my memories. I first saw The Simpsons when it was a sketch on the Tracey Ullman Show and thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I was ecstatic when I learned they were making a full cartoon of it. I watched it religiously up until about season 15 or 16 before I finally switched to every once in a while like we all eventually did. I feel you. The love is there, but it had to evolve. They used to be with backquoted, but then they changed what backquoted was. Now what they're with isn't backquoted anymore, and what's backquoted seems weird and scary. It'll happen to you. Grandpa Simpson. Does you/Mr. team know you are on their account? What are you cackling at? Fatty? Too much pie? That's your problem.